Hi, this is Mr. Max. So today I'm going to look at paper 2 of 2023 Mathematics Ordinary Level. This one has been long overdue. So you would need a calculator so that you can follow as I am solving the questions. And I've highlighted some key instructions. Obviously, a lot of the students, they have this tendency of writing in pencil. Please write in dark blue or black pen. The pencil you only use where there are diagrams or graphs. And then the other one is this one of the degree of accuracy if it's not specified in the question. In other words, in the question, if you're not told, give your answer to so many significant figures or so many decimal places or whatever the case may be, and that answer is not exact, for example, then you give your answer to three significant figures. And if you're dealing with angles, then you give to one decimal place. Of course, we are working with degrees. Then if you are encountering where you are supposed to use the value of pi, it's either you use the calculator value of pi or you use 3.142. Right, there will be instances in this question where this comes in handy. And then also, this margin here, where it's indicated for examiners use, you're not allowed to write here. This is where the marking takes place. Anyway, let's just delve right into the paper. There is the first question here. Molezi has 456 cupcakes to distribute among the learners in her school. Then the question or the instruction says each learner receives a cupcake. That definitely means that there are in total 456 learners at the school. The junior primary learners get a third of the cupcakes. This question here asks you work out the number of junior primary learners. That means you take a third of the 456 in order for you to know how many learners there are. So this answer is 152, straightforward. The senior primary learners get 3/4 of the remaining cupcakes. So maybe I should just highlight that part, the remaining cupcakes. So what we need to do is we definitely have to find what remains. So that means we're going to say, wait a minute, the remaining cupcakes will be 456 take away 152. So that is 304. And that 304 is going to come in handy because now they say the secondary learners get the rest. Okay, so let us first determine how many cupcakes the senior primary learners get. So the senior primary learners, they get, so right here, senior primary, they get 3/4 of 304. And if you were to calculate that, you get 228. What else do we know? Well, we know that that is the senior primary. We also know that the junior primary, they have received 152 cupcakes. All right. So we are going to then be left with the senior secondary or the secondary learners. So hence, we're going to say the secondary learners, the secondary learners will get 456, take away 228 plus 152. Okay, so 76, that is the correct answer there. Then they say express the answer to part A, Roman 2, that is that 76 that I've got here, as a percentage of the total number of learners. The total number of learners happen to be 456. Simply multiply that by 100. Of course, what you're going to get is you're going to get a recurring decimal. So you can leave your answer as 16.7, correct to three significant figures. Right, question 2. This is equations. So I hope you're still familiar with how you can make the basis the same. Remember, if you have this scenario, and hopefully from your laws of indices, you should know that 1 over a is the same as a raised to the power of -1. So if I look here, I'll see that 2x is equal to 2 raised to the power of 2. Essentially, that's what 4 is raised to the power of -1. So this gives you 2 raised to the power of x is equal to 2 raised to the power of -2 when you multiply. So if the bases are the same, you are just going to drop them and then you're going to equate the indices. Therefore, the value of x is nothing but -2. Right here, you can't make the bases the same, so you're better off by calculating the log of both sides. Then you use the power law, and the x comes in front of log 3 equals log 1.5. Now just remember that log 1.5 is a number, the same with log 3 is a number. So you're just going to divide those numbers. So you're going to divide log 3 on both sides. So you're going to say x would be log 3 divided, or log 1.5 rather, log 1.5, we're going to divide that by log 3. Okay, so grab your calculator because this answer, yes, again, as I said, might not be exact. So you have got log 1.5, then you simply divide that by log 3. Okay, so you get a very long number here, which is not exact, 0.369. That will be 0.369. Of course, you can go ahead and write the full calculator display and then do your rounding afterwards. That brings me to question 3. Well, this one here is quite straightforward to an extent. 2 kilometers is nothing but 2,000 meters. And you should know that 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligram. So if that is the case, then this here is 12,000 multiplying that 12. Another fact that you should know, and you should know this, is that 1,000 cubic centimeter is equal to 1,000 milliliter, which in return is equal to 1 liter. So in this particular case, this answer will just be 25 milliliter. Another important aspect also that you need to know is that 1 ton is equal to 1,000 kilogram. So that therefore means that you are going to multiply 0.25 with 1,000, and this answer is 250 kilogram. Let's move on to question 4. Question 4, you are supposed to evaluate, find the values. So that is 3. You see, I'm going to open the bracket so long. And then I'm going to substitute those values here. X is 5 and Y is 7. So go ahead and use your calculator. Remember, don't try to make your life difficult here. Okay, so this answer is nothing but 64. When you factorize, you first take out the common factor, which is 2. That leaves me with 25x squared minus 4y squared. Now, you should see that inside the bracket, you have the difference of 2 squares. So 25 is the square of 5, and 4 is the square of 2. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop those little squares. So I'm going to have nothing but 2. In one bracket, I have 5x minus 2y, and the other bracket will be 5x plus 2y. And that is how you do that question. Part C, let me just make it a little bit bigger so that you can be able to follow. So you have got 2 terms on the numerator as well as 2 terms on the denominator. And you are not allowed to start cancelling out. What you need to do is you need to have a scenario where you have one term at the numerator that is divisible by exactly one term at the denominator. So that means you have to factorize the numerator as well as the denominator. So On top, in the numerator, you take out a common factor, which is 2x squared, and you're going to be left with x plus y. And when you do the denominator, you should realize that you have the difference of two squares, which is factorized by saying x minus y as well as x plus y. Now, once you're here, you can now cancel out the common factors. So at the end of the day, you are left with 2x squared, and that is over nothing but x minus y. Okay, let's move on. So we have got equations here, and question 5 is an example of a linear equation, so there's only one value of x. So you do collect the like terms, so you see this minus 2x. Obviously, if you bring it over, it becomes a plus 2x. And then you have a 5 that was there, but now your job is to carry that negative 1 over by that positive 1 by subtracting. So at the end of the day, you have got 4x is equal to 4. So this will then give you that x should be 4 divided by 4, which is equal to 1. When you look at part B, the left-hand side is factorized, and you don't need to expand. You don't need to remove the brackets. So what this means is they have two numbers. One number is x minus 3, multiplied by another number 4 minus x to give you 0. It then implies that either x minus 3 is equal to 0 or 4 minus x is equal to 0. So x will equal to 3, which will be one answer. Here you have minus x is equal to negative 4, and then you drop the negatives, x will equal to 4. Or you can say multiply or divide throughout by negative 1. Here is a very important concept that you need to understand, and it's when you're dealing with simultaneous equations and you see that the coefficients of y is 3, but the signs are different. So I'm going to do something to these two equations. So I can maybe say this is my equation A and this is my equation B. So when the signs are different, maybe I should put it like this. If the signs are the same, suppose that was also a minus and that is a minus, then you subtract. So the way to remember it is obviously using this letter over there. But if the signs are different, as in this case, so you have different signs, then you simply add equations together. So I'll be adding equation A to equation B. And if that is the case, that's going to give me, so I'm just going to change this. So that's going to give me 7x over here. Obviously, this one's now, they will cancel, giving you 49 over there. So x would be 49 divided by 7. The value of x would equal to 7. Now, what you now need to do is you substitute x equals to 7 into either equation A or B. It's totally up to you. So if I substitute in equation A, that will give me 5 times that value of x, which happens to be 7 now. Okay, then minus 3y equals to 23. Of course, that's negative 3y equals to 23. This is 35, so minus 35. Again, I'm just running slightly out of space there. So if that is the case, I'm just going to continue on the other side. So this gives me minus 3y equals to negative 12. And y would be negative 12 divided by negative 3, and the value of y is equal to 4. Right, here you have a quadratic equation. And the thing that you need to remember is the moment you are told that you are supposed to give your answer correct to 2 decimal places, it means that the quadratic equation is not going to factorize. You can't use the method of factorization. So it's either that you use the completing the square method or that you use the method of using the quadratic equation formula. But then all quadratic equations should equal to 0. So go ahead and then bring that over there. And now we're going to identify our value of A. So our A is 2, our B is -3, and our value of C is -18. That is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Right, so you can go ahead and you can obviously use the quadratic equation formula, which is x equals to minus the value of b plus or minus, and the square root is going to be b squared minus 4a times c. All of this you're going to divide by 2a. So let me just plug in the values there. So the value of b is -3, so that -3 has nothing to do with this one over here. The value of a is 2 for AC, the value of c is -18, and the value of a is 2. Now once you plug it in, you're going to have two answers. When you have a positive value, then one answer will be 3,84, correct to 2 decimal places. And when you have a negative value now, one answer would be -2.34. Correct substitution into the formula. Question 6. So you have a Venn diagram here, and by the looks of things, you have got 15 numbers. And first, they want you to list all the elements of the universal set. And once you do that, you are supposed to remember that implies that you are going to use your curly brackets. So again, this is simply nothing but 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 15. Of course, do make sure that you study the diagrams well and write them all, list them all. Then the next one is the complement of P. So I'm just going to make this a bit smaller so the diagram can be visible. This is everything that is not in P. So if I was to block out P, for example, and everything that is not in P, this is going to be P complement would be everything that is not there. It's 5, 6. Let's try to list them in a certain order, chronological order. 10 as well as 11, and lastly 13. And go ahead and count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that you can know that you have not missed out one of them. Okay, right, so I'm just going to remove that. So the next part says M intersection N intersection P. This is nothing but the region where all of these are meeting. So it's this particular part. All right. So what are the elements there? So let's list those elements. Those elements are 2, 8, and 9. So again, don't forget you put them in your curly brackets, 2, 8, as well as 9. Now, this M union N refers to everything in M and everything in U. That's what it refers to. So it will be minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minus this, the 4, the 10, the 12, the 7, and obviously the 13 that I'm not going to include. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead, and again, I counted them for a reason. I know that the elements are 15. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are not going to be the union of M and N. So I'm just going to list, and I must make sure that I get 10 of them. So in this particular case, I'm going to have, if you go ahead and you can scroll back or so on or rewind. So it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 11, 14, and 15. And I have indeed listed them all. Okay. So you can see that all of them are listed. All right. So I'm going to just clean up the Venn diagram so that we can answer the next question. Again, we are still listing the elements of, here we have N union P complement. So what I would like to do here is everything that is not in the union of M and P. So everything that is not here, right? Everything, so it's this 5, the 7, and the 10, and the 13. The 5, the 7, the 10, and the 13. That is, I'm just going to write them under here. That is, as I said, 5, the 7, the 10, as well as the 13. And the intersection of everything that is in N. So if I have to go back and list all my elements of N, so let's just go ahead and clean that up. So all of this element of N is this particular one, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So I'm going to list them, okay? Just make sure that, so I'm going to list all the elements of N. Make sure that you have them, and they are, again, as I said, they are 7. So I'm just going to write them down, and they were 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 11, as well as 14 respectively. Okay, right. What does this intersection refer to? The intersection refer to, think of it as, what do they share? And you will see that they share a 5 only. It's only a 5 that they share. So the answer to this particular question, would therefore be, but put it in curly brackets, would therefore be the element 5. Does that make sense to you? Right. So we now need to find the number of, so we are now looking for the cardinal value, the actual number of elements that are in M union N union P. That means in all of these three combined. Now remember, we know that there are 15, all of them. So if I have to consider all of these ones only and I have to count them, that's basically what the question is. You can count them, or you can say, wait a minute, 15 minus 1, 2, 3. So there must be 12. Or you can go ahead and you count them all and you realize that the answer is 12. Okay, so this answer here is nothing but 12. And you're not allowed to put this one in the brackets because we are looking for the cardinal value, and the cardinal value is like the number of elements that are in represented by that. Question 7. This is again bringing you back to geometric, or in this particular case, arithmetic progression. So you have got a sequence there, and you're told, very important, that this is an AP, or arithmetic progression. So it's a series because the terms are being added. The first term is 10. The common difference is, take the second term, let's suppose that is the second term and that's the first term. When you subtract them, you are going to get 2. The last one here, the 80, is the last term. The last term is represented by T sub n. And we know that T sub n is A plus n minus 1 d. This is what is equal to T sub n. But A is 10 plus n minus 1, and our d is 2, and this should be equal to 80. So we can go ahead then and say, okay, multiply over, that is going to be 2n minus 2 equals to 80. Take away 10, obviously, if I subtract that. So I have got 2n minus 2 is equal to 70. And let's just create some space over here. And that means 2n is equal to 70 plus 2. That is 2n is equal to 72. Then you divide 72 by 2, and then there are 36 terms. Now we have to find the sum of these 36 terms. And the formula that I'm going to use is, I'm going to use this straightforward formula, S sub n equals to n over 2 a plus L. Okay, because I know what the last term is. The last term is 80. So I know that there are 36 terms, and then the first term is 10 plus 80. And you can just go ahead and you punch that in the calculator. So half of that is 18, and this is 90. And don't be afraid then to say, okay, what is 18 times 90? So that's 1620, and that is the correct answer. Question 8, you have got an obtuse angle triangle. The formula that you need to calculate the area is you're going to use the formula a half times the sides and the sine of the inclusive angle. So I'll say sine C. So the area here is going to be a half times 4 times 9 times the sine of 30 degrees. Just go ahead and punch them in, or you should know that sine 30 degrees is equal to a half. Otherwise, also make sure your calculator displays on degree mode so you don't have a particular problem. So a half times 4 times 9 times the sine of 30 degrees. So the answer is 9, and that is 9 centimeters square. That is your area. Now they want you to find the length of QR. So what we're going to do there is we're going to use the cosine rule. We're going to say QR square is equal to 4 square plus 9 square minus 2 times 4 times 9 times the cosine of 30 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that answer and we are going to take the square root of that answer in order for us to find QR. So let's grab our calculator. Make sure it's 4 square plus 9 square minus 2 times 4 times 9 times the cosine of 30 degrees, and that gives you that number over there. So I'm going to say take the square root of the answer, and it's 5.886. So it's 5.886. Just go back and write more digits, 0998, 0998, and so on and so on. And then you give the answer correct to 3 significant figures, 1, 2, 3. So that's 5,89. Okay, so this is trigonometry. Good, that takes me to question number 9. And since it's a diagram, I'm just going to reduce it so that it can fit. It says that 3 flags A, B, C are drawn on the grid. Describe fully the single transformation that maps A onto B. If you look at A onto B, you can see the center is negative 5,5, and every part is exactly 180 degrees away from that. So this one here is nothing but a rotation. So you'll say rotation, and it's 180 degrees, and you don't have to say clockwise or anti-clockwise because it will definitely arrive at the same place. The center is negative 5,5, and that's how you get your 3 marks for that. Then A onto C, so you see where A is. A is over there and C is over here. So there are a few things that you need to understand. It is an enlargement, but look at where the image is, and that is the figure. So we need to find the center of enlargement. So I'll take this point over here and I'll join it with its corresponding point over there. And I'll do the same with this point over here, and I'll join it with its corresponding point over there. And I'll do the same maybe for this one. You don't have to, but I'll do the same. So it's slightly out. So you can see that if this is the case, that the center is between the two. You see, this is where the image, the object is, and this is the image because it's A onto C. And you see that the image is further away on the opposite side of the center. If that is the case, the scale factor is going to be a negative number because the image has been inverted, it's upside down. And when you now calculate the scale factor, so first of all, when you calculate the scale factor will be Remember, it's going to be negative because I said it's inverted and it's further away on the opposite side of the center. And when you now do that, if you were to take the distance on the image, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and you divide that by the corresponding distance on the object, which is 2, you'll see that my scale factor here is -2. Another thing worth noting is this. The center of enlargement is approximately somewhere over there. So again, this is going to be a range. And there is acceptable range that they are giving you in the exam. So I'm just going to write down what this question is about. So you will be saying enlargement. And you can then say the scale factor is -2. And then the center, you can take anything like -0.7, 1. Now, this answer is a range. So if a learner was writing -0.9, -0.5, they would most surely also get the answer because this is just an estimation. Can you see that? It's very close to -1. Right. Now, they say you must draw the image of flag A after its translation by the vector 8, 1. So when you look at the vector 8, 1, so wherever that A is, so we're going to say, for example, I take this part and I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I go up by 1. So that's where this is going to be. And I know that it has to be 2 places. So I can definitely sort of complete that without having an issue. Okay. And then you label it, as they were saying, label it D. 2 marks for that. Then they are saying for part C, draw the image of flag A after a reflection in line y equals to -1. So let me just draw the line y equals to -1. So the line y equals to -1 is going to be this particular line over here. And that is the line y equals to -1. So the distance that this image, the object is away from the middle line should be the same. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's where that's going to be. And you can actually go ahead and you can complete that shape. So it will be something like so. And then they say you must go ahead and you must label this one E. So you can label it E. All right, 1 mark for doing that. All right, so I have the information right here. When I said when the scale factor cannot be 1, it has to be less than -1 in the case that we have the image is inverted. So when you look at the image being this one over here, it's inverted and it's on the other side of the center, something that you need to know, and it's also further away from the center. And in the scale factor, you take side of on the image. So for example, I counted, you're looking for either vertical sides or horizontal sides when you do your division. It's not going to work if you use the sort of diagonal sides. Then you have to bring in some sort of Pythagoras, and that is a waste of time. All right, and that's how you get that the scale factor is negative because it's inverted. It's on the other side, opposite the center and away from the center. Right, so I also have the answer to 9b, and if you were to do it, you would see that that's where you end up. The one that I've done over there, and the one for C, obviously labeling it E. So in this case, the line y equals to -1 will be somewhere within this particular region over there, and that would be your mirror line, so to speak. That object and the image must be the same distance from the mirror line. Okay, that brings me to question 10. Now with question 10, again, there are many ways you can do this, but I will just stick to a few of them that makes more sense. And if you were to continue with this particular line over here, and if you do the same for that line over here, you have the diagonals of a square. And there is a formula to calculate the area of a square. You take half of the diagonals, all right? So in this case, the diagonal must be 14. So it's half of 14 times 14. And 14 times 14 is nothing but 196. And half of that is equal to 98. So that is going to be the area of the square. Some people are looking at this and say, okay, they know that whenever they deal with a square, the diagonals are made at 90 degrees here. So that will be the side, and then you say side square is equal to 7 square plus 7 square. And then I use the theory of Pythagoras, and the theory of Pythagoras says that a side is equal to the square root of 7 squared plus 7 squared. So let's see what that gives us. Okay, so that gives you 7 squared plus 7 squared. Again, you get that. So that, let's say the side, and let's leave the answer in surd form, 7 root 2, which is 7 root 2. And I'm not going to give the decimal value. So that will be the side. Now, to calculate the area of a square, the area of a square is side times side, which is the same as 7 root 2 times 7 root 2. And when you do that on your calculator, you take this, you multiply it by itself, you see that you get 98 as an answer. So either way, whatever the method that you are using, you're going to get the same answer. Okay? Right. Again, there are many other methods, but we are looking at anything that rounds to 98. Now let's see how do you find the area of the shaded part. So I'm going to do it in step by step. I'm going to find the area of a circle with radius 7 centimeter, because that is the center. And that, I'm going to leave answer in terms of pi. That is 49 pi. I already know the area of the square, the area of the square being 98. So the area of the shaded region, and if you look at that, if I do the subtraction, and the shaded region is 1/4 of that part, so I'm going to divide my answer there by 4. So you can go ahead and say, wait a minute, the area of the circle, which is 49 pi, minus the area of the square, and you're going to divide that by 4. And you can grab your calculator because your answer will be irrational because you are dealing with a pi in there. So it's 49 pi minus 98. You divide that answer by 4. You get 13.984. That's 13.98. Let's see, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, and so on. So to 3 significant figures, it's going to be 14.0. Okay, and that is how that particular question is to be approached. Right, question 11. It's very important that you read question 11 very carefully. And it says that you have got 2 functions. You have function f, which is the parabola. You have got function g. Graph f has x-intercept at a and b, and perhaps it's necessary for me to write whatever this intercept is. So this is the point 2, 0 here. Okay. And they are saying the center, of course, we're going to get to that, passes through a and so on. Then they ask you what is the y-intercept. So if you look at the y-intercept, it's here. And if you look at the equation, that part of the equation is the y-intercept. Or you ideally make every value of x2 equal to 0. So for part 1, your answer is nothing but 0, 8. Show that the coordinates of the turning point. Okay, so let's find the turning point. So the formula we use to find the turning point is x equals minus b over 2a. And let me just write down what that function of f is. It was minus x squared minus 2x plus 8. And our value of a here is -1, and our value of b is -2. So that's x and 2. So now I'm going to just punch that in. Of course, you can use completing the square. Minus 2 over here and minus 1 over here. So this answer is positive 2 divided by -2. So the answer is -1. So that takes care of the x value. How do you find the y value? It's very simple. You find the y value by now substituting f for -1 into the function everywhere where you have an x. And if you do that, you're going to end up with an output value of +9. So if you punch this in on your calculator, you will see. Therefore, the turning point of C is -1,9. Right, so they want us to write the coordinates of A. Let me just go back to that. Let me just draw a dotted line over here. So the dotted line that is over here, this is the line x is equal to -1, okay, from the turning point. What I'm interested is, so if this is -1 over here, I'm interested in this distance from here to there. If that is 2 and that's -1, so it's 2 places from 0 and 1 place away from 0, then the distance here will definitely be, let's use, the distance here will definitely be 3 units. So from here all the way up to there, it has to be 3 units. So in order for me to find that value or that because remember this is line of symmetry, it cuts the parabola in half. So the distance from the line of symmetry to the intercept should be the same, either direction. So if you add, you say -1, and you go 3 units to this side, it will give you that you arrive here at -4. Okay, because 3 units from here will be -2, -3, -4. So the coordinates of A is nothing but -4, 0. No need to calculate them. Right, then they say find the equation of g of x by stating finding the values of m, which is the gradient. Let me just bring in what I have from my answer, my previous answer. I know that the a coordinate is -4, 0, and I also know that c, which is the turning point, is -1, 9. The reason why I'm bringing those 2 points is where the line passes through. Can you see the line passes through there? So I'm going to use these to calculate, first of all, the gradient. So the gradient of this line g of x is going to be, take the 2 y values, subtract them, divide by the 2 x values. The 2 x values, I started with this point c, so I'm going to start with the x value of point c. That's -1 minus -4. So that's 9 divided by 3. So the gradient is 3. So now the equation is g of x is equal to 3x, but I do not know where this is going to cross the y-intercept. So what you do is you substitute either point A or point C into this function. And remember, g of x is nothing but equal to y. So this is y equals to 3x plus c. So if I was to use point A and substitute for x and for y, y would be 0 over here, and x would be -4 over there. This would give me that c minus 12 is equal to 0, and that c is equal to 12. Now that I know what my value of c is, and I know what my gradient is, I can then go ahead and write my equation down. So the equation is g of x is equal to 3x plus 12, and that is the equation of that line. Now they say find the inverse of g of x. So remember, g of x now is nothing but 3x plus 12. Rewrite that with y equals to 3x plus 12. Go ahead and swap the letters because you want to make y the subject of the formula so that your answer can still be given in terms of x. Then this is going to be x take away 12 is equal to 3y. Then y would be x take away 12 divided by 3. So the inverse of my function, you should not write y anymore, but it's x. The inverse of g is x minus 12 all over 3. Good. Let's go to question 12. An aeroplane was due to take off from Hosea Kutako Airport at 1842, but it was late by 35 minutes. Or now, if they are asking you, so I'm going to say 1842, make sure that the time is in digital time. And if you add 35 minutes to that, you realize that, of course, you're going to get more. This is going to be 77 minutes, which is more than an hour. So what I need to do is I must take away an hour or 60 minutes and add that hour over there. So if I do that and I subtract, I get 17 on this side. And if I add that 1 hour, that makes it 19. Or another learner could give the answer as 7.17, but then you must write PM, like so. You can also use your calculator just to make sure that you get the answer. So I will say, wait a minute, 18 hours, 42 minutes, plus 35, no, that's plus 0 hours and 35 minutes. You see that I have 19 hours and 17 minutes, which is that you write your answer in time like that. Then the landing time. So during the flight, thanks to a tailwind, the plane made up the time, and in fact, it landed 16 minutes earlier than its schedule. So if it was, now I'm going to change this to 24:05. So 24:05, if you have to take away 16 minutes from that. Now, if you are not using the calculator as such, remember now, you cannot subtract 16 minutes from 5 minutes. So as a result, we are going to borrow an hour there. So this business becomes 23:65 if you add that 5 to the 60. And now you can take away 16 minutes. And if you do so, of course, if you take away the 16 minutes from that, you're going to get an answer of, just write it down, you're going to get an answer of 23 and 49, which you can also write as 11.49 p.m. Okay? Or alternatively, I'll use my calculator, but don't leave your calculator in that form. So I would say 24 hours and 5 minutes, take away 0 hours and 16 minutes. Of course, it gives me 23 hours 49, which is the required time, and then you just write it like that. The duration, now the duration, you just subtract the 2 of the whole journey. You say 23:49 minus 19:17. Of course, let's see what we get. If we were to do the subtraction, again, if you take away 17 from that, that is going to be 32. Okay, whoopsie daisy. That is still a line or something. So let's just change that. So that is 32 minutes. And if you take away 23 minus 19, well, that's 4 hours. So it's 4 hours and 32 minutes. Again, if I was to use my calculator, I would say 23 hours, 49 minutes minus 19 hours and 17 minutes. That is 4 hours and 32 minutes, no seconds. And then just go ahead and write it in the correct place. Good. We are now at question 13. So we have got here a rectangular base pyramid, and we know that AE is also going to be 18 centimeters as the information is given to you. And they give us the volume, the formula to calculate the volume of a pyramid. But then they want us to find the length of CE. So maybe if I would just had to sort of bring that up, the length of CE is this particular length over there. And that is 90 degrees over there. Okay, so anyway, let's just do that. So that's 90 degrees over there. So essentially, I have a right angle triangle. When I have to find the length of CE, um, that means I'm just going to draw the right angle triangle here so that at least it is straightforward for everybody. This is AO. No, not that one. I'm looking for the one under. So this will be D, and this could be C, and this could be E. Then EC is what we are looking for. ED, this is 5.2. DC is 15. So you guess it, we're going to use Pythagoras. Right, so to use Pythagoras, you say EC or CE is equal to the square root of 5.2 squared plus 15 squared. Okay, so the square root of 5.2 squared plus 15 squared. Okay, 15.87. I'm just going to write down everything. 15.8757. So it's 15.8757. Let's go ahead. 677. All right, so to three significant figures is 15.9. That takes care of that particular case. Now they want the vertical height of AO. AO, so if I was to bring in that triangle again, let's say I bring in a triangle. And of course, it's right angle triangle. That is AO, what they are looking for. So I'm going to look at triangle AOE. AOE. Here's the thing. OE is half of CE. You see that? OE is half of CE. OE is half of CE, which is 15.8757677. Okay, and I'll divide this simply by 2. And when I divide that answer by 2, it gives me 7.937. So I'm going to write that 7.9378. It's 7.937, and I want to write down everything so that my answer is more or less correct. So I know what this answer is here. OE is about 7.9. I know that something else. I know that AE is 18 from the information that I have. I have to go back to my diagram. So I need to find AO, so I'll be using Pythagoras. And since we are using Pythagoras, we are looking for a short side, we're going to subtract. So it's going to be 18 squared minus this stuff here, 7.937 blah 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 square. So this is still part of my answer. So I'll say square root, then I have 18 squared minus my answer from there, should also be squared, and I hit enter. I get 16.155. I'm just going to write that down somewhere here. 16.155, 18493, 18493. Then to three significant figures, it becomes 16.2 centimeters. Right. Then they say calculate the volume of the pyramid. So a third times the base area. So it's a third. The base area is a rectangle. If you look at the rectangle, it's 15 times 5.2. So 15 times 5.2, I'm just going to write 15 times 5.2 over here. And then you should multiply that with the height. Now the height is what you have, so it's at 16.1551 and so on. So there's a reason why I'm keeping that on the calculator. So I'm going to multiply that times 5.2 times 15 times 1 over 3. Okay, my answer is 420. So the answer here is 420.0348 and so on. That is cubic centimeters. So I will definitely now say, okay, to three significant figures, the answer is 420. All right, so you might get slightly different answers based on whatever rounding you take, but you have noted that I don't want to round this part of my answers when I'm using them so that it doesn't affect my overall value. Okay. Right, so always be in the habit of showing as much decimal places as you can so that you maximize your chances when you use that question and do the next one. Question 14. There is some information maybe that you still have to remember. Question 14, and I'll just write it here. The first one is the frequency density is calculated by taking the frequency, dividing it by the class width. So if I was to bring in the class width here, that is here the class width is 30, 50 minus 30 the class width is 20, 60 minus 50 the class width is 10, 80 minus 60 the class width here is 20, 110 take away 80 the class width is 30, 140 take away 110 the class width also is 30. But here now they say use the histogram to complete the table. So the frequency density, I don't have enough information here. All right, I have the class width, but I don't have the frequency density. I don't have the frequency in order for me to complete this. So I'm going to go to the table and see what is the class width. What is the frequency density for the various classes that I'm given. So I'm just going to make this one slightly bigger so that we can be able to count properly. So you would see that each little block is 0.1. So if that is the case, so the class width between 30 and 50, which is this one here, right? This is most now 30 and 50. That class width is over here. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Another one that we have to find is the class width between 80 and 110. So 110 is over here. This class width is 0.1, 0.2. So that one is 0.2. So I can go back to my table and I can complete. So the class width between 30 and 50, that one was 0.5 and this other one was 0.2. Right, let's now use the formula that I have put here in order for us to find the frequency. So I'll just write here, frequency would be the frequency density times the class width. So when you take the frequency density 0.5 times 20, that is 10. When you take 0.2 times 30, that is going to be 6. Okay, so you multiply, for example, you say the 0.5, you multiply it by 20, and the other one, you say 0.2, you multiply it by 30. And here I got 6, here I got 10. Right, now that we have everything according to the table, we can actually go ahead and we can complete or draw the missing bars. Then there are 4 missing bars. So from 0 to 30, the frequency is 6, but the frequency density is 0.2. So if the frequency density is 0.2, then this is how that bar should be here. Okay, and when you are now looking between 50 and 80, the frequency density is 3.2. So just go between 50 and is it between 50 and 60, sorry, so it's this one. Between 50 and 60, the frequency density is 3.2. So between 50 and 60 is 3.2. So 3.1 to 3.2 will be over here. All right, let's just come here. That's where we are supposed to have until here. All right, so let's join it. My diagram might be out slightly. Between the next one is between 60 and 80. Between 60 and 80, the frequency density is 1. Between 60 and 80, so 1 will be somewhere over here. And then that's 1, 2, 3. The fourth one is from 110 to 140. 110 to 140 is 1.5. 1.5. Now we have to be very careful. That's 1. So 2, 1, 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. I believe it's there. And you can just go ahead and draw those missing bars. Okay. So again, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. All right. So that is how you do that one. Of course, I also have below, I have the completed one so that you can see. Okay. All right. I'm just going to let it, I'm going to pause there for a while you're taking it in. Okay, so that brings us to question C. Now, when you are asked to calculate the estimate of the mean, obviously it's just an estimation. Then there are certain things that you need to bring in, and one of them is you need to know what the mid values are. And the way you find the mid values or the mid value, you take the beginning value of the group, then you add the end value of the group. Don't worry about the handwriting, just follow. And then you divide that answer by 2. So here I'm going to write mid values. So if I take my calculator, what I was just saying, take the beginning value, say 40 plus 60, take half of that, you divide that by 2. So you get that this here is 50. Then you do the same for the others. You say 60 plus 70. 60 plus 70. You divide that answer by 2 is 65. And if you were to continue, you should get 85 over here, and 100 plus 120 is 240. 220, half of that is 110. So those are the mid-interval values. Why? Because when you are calculating the mean, you say that mid value times the frequency. I'm going to put all of these over a bar, times, next one is 65 times 20. See, the 20 is the frequency. This is not supposed to be a times here, it's supposed to be a plus now. Plus the third one is 85 times 43, plus 110 times 38. Whatever that answer is, you are going to divide that answer by the number of people who took part in the study or who wrote the exam, which is 119. And if you were to do that, you would see that you will get an answer. I'm just going to write the answer over here. It's going to be an answer of 10,035 divided by 119. So of course it's 84.327 and so on and so on minutes. And the question here says give your answer correct to the nearest minute. So to the nearest minute, this answer is simply 84. Okay, so it's a handful. Please do pause and check it out. A survey of holiday preferences was conducted amongst 120 staff members. If you were to add the males, which is 64, plus the female, which is 56, you get 120. And from here, they're asking, determine the probability that a staff member selected randomly is male. So first of all, the probability that the member will be a male staff member is the total number of male over the total number of staff. So you have 64 upon 120. You can go ahead and simplify this. It's 8 over 15. And that is the answer for that particular part. Then they say determine the probability that a staff member selected randomly does not prefer a neighboring country. So the ones who prefer a neighboring country are going to be 20 plus 21, which is this part here, out of the 120. So does not, so I'll say 1 minus, okay? So that obviously if you punch that in your calculator, that will give you 1 minus 41 over 120, which is just nothing but 79 over 120. Okay, give your answer like that, right? Work with decimals can be a bit confusing. Question 16. We're very close to the end here. Question 16, you have got a bag contains 15 marbles, so 7 of them are blue, then 8 out of them must be red. Okay, because here is something that is worth knowing, and that's that if you let's say just go back here to this oval and let's make it transparent. All right. If I was to bring in a transparent oval, well, is that not something? This is a all right. I don't want to give up. What I'm about to do, I'm gonna see exactly what the issue is. Okay. Let's say we bring in an oval. This one's here. All right. What I want to say is that each split, if you can say it's a split, right? Each split, this one, always add to 1. So 8 over 15 plus 7 over 15, that gives you 1. Okay? 8 over 15 plus 7 over 15 gives me 1. So how would I know this is 8 over 15? I'll simply say 1 minus 7 over 15, and then I know, okay, that is 8 over 15. Is that clear? Then another thing with knowing, they say if the marble is picked randomly without being replaced. So let's say if the person removes a red marble, now there's going to be 7, but now this one here will reduce because without replacement, the second event will be 1 marble less, not 15 anymore, but 14. Does that make sense? And again, if that is 7 over 14, then this one here also has to be 7 over 14 because I literally just said that once you're dealing with those splits, this should add up to 1. But if someone was to take away a blue one, then there are not 7 blue ones anymore. There will be 6 out of 14. This is going to reduce as well. And if you now have to find the other part, then you say, wait a minute, 1 minus 6 out of 14, that gives me 4 over 7. 4 over 7 is nothing but 8 over 14. Okay? Or again, if you were to compare, you'd see that this gives you obviously, this gives you that one that I was referring to earlier. Okay, right. So I've actually completed. If there was necessary for you to make some changes, like to make things simplify them, you can go ahead and simplify them if you wish to do so. Then, if 2 marbles are picked randomly, find the probability that at least one is blue. Let us do one thing first. Let's find the probability that all of them will be red and red. That is 8 over 15, and if I go along the branches like this, I multiply. And if I multiply, I get 4 out of 15. So this is just going to be red, red, red. So for me to find the probability that there should be at least one blue, so the probability at least one is blue, it will be 1, because again the sum of all the probabilities or the branches will be 1 minus that 4 out of 15. And if you do that, then you're going to get your answer for this part. Okay, so you say 1 minus 4 upon 15. Of course, that's 11/15. All right, so this answer here is 11/15. So anything that is equal or equivalent to that. For part C, they say, find the probability that the 3 marbles are picked randomly are red. So probability that you have red, red, red. So I know already from the other red, it was 8 over 15 times 7 over 14. Okay, so it was these 2 here that I had. But let me just complete that table so you can see exactly what it means. So if I was to complete this table, then I will have another scenario like so, but I'm now looking for red over here, and if I was to complete that one, then this is going to be 6 out of 13 now if I go along like this. Okay, reducing. So I'm going to multiply the last one by 6 over 13. So times 6 over 13. Grab the calculator and multiply. 8 over 15 times 7 over 14 times 6 over 13. That answer is 8 over 65, which is more than what we are looking for, or exactly what we are looking for. Okay. Of course, there was no need for me to complete here, to write here the blue one, no need. But in any case, this is going to be, if that is 6, you have to say 13 minus 6 in order for you to complete this one. But it's not what we're looking for. Good. Now we get to question 17. Now, question 17, I want to introduce you to something that I hope you should know, and that is the cast diagram. Here cosine is positive, here all the ratios are positive, here sine is positive, here tangent is positive. But the domain here is between 90 to 360. So this one is not considered. But sine is positive in the first and the second quadrant. So I'm also not going to consider this part. So the ones that I'm going to consider is, perhaps I should do that, is going to be only this part here. So let's just bring in a highlighter of some sort. So we are going to not consider these ones here. We're also not going to consider these ones over there. Okay. Right. So that means that if I draw myself a right angle triangle, the right angle triangle from here to here, and it's 90 degrees, and the angle is here, theta. Sine is opposite, which is 4, over hypotenuse, which is 5. But here the value, now if I have to calculate that, remember this value is of x here are negative. So if I have to find that, I'm going to use Pythagoras. So I will be saying, okay, I have got this distance, maybe I call it x or whatever that distance is. I'll just say the distance of x is equal to 5 squared minus 4 squared. Take the square root. So that's obviously going to be 25 minus that, which is 9. But this answer should be a negative value. It should be a negative 3 because on that side. So effectively, I'm sitting with a right angle triangle. That is not right angle triangle. Let's say I do that. Okay, that looks better. My theta is over there, and my 5 is over here. So let's just use a different color. I was wondering when this is going to happen. All right, just bear with me. I seem to have pressed again when we're now busy with the very last question. And I'll just go back to my paper. And I have to find that paper. It is going to be quite tricky to find that paper. So let's see if I go into my it's paper 2. Let's open it with the software that I'm using, the annotator. Again, takes quite a while. Let's restore. Okay, let's finish this. Right, so I was about to change this. So that was 5 over here, that was negative 3 over there, that's 4. If you have to find tan theta, tangent is opposite of theta over whatever is adjacent to theta. So in this particular case, the opposite here is 4 and adjacent to it is negative 3. So effectively the whole thing is negative, okay? So here you have 2 tan theta plus 3 sine theta. What do we know? We know that tan theta is negative 4 over 3. We know that sine theta, from the information we were given, and if you have to go back, sine theta is 4 over 5. So just go ahead and put 4 over 5 here. Now go ahead and punch that in the calculator, and then you get the value, and that value would be the answer, all right, to the question. So you have 2 open bracket, you have got a fraction which happens to be negative. You say 4 upon 3, close the bracket, plus 3. Always make sure that you understand your calculator. That's 4 upon 5, close the bracket, and the answer is negative 4 over 15. So negative 4/15. Good. Right. That brings me to the end of this lesson or this question paper. And I hope that again you have a copy of the question paper. Then you can pause the video and you can also then see how I approach different questions. And maybe you have different methods to them, but ultimately if it brings you to the same answer, that is all that matters. And also the number of times that you spend on a particular question also plays a role. Good luck with your studies, and thanks for watching.